Hello, this is Linda Vetris Nichols, evolutionaryhealer.com. And today I have Kristy Russ with me. Kristy is a renegade pharmacist and a functional medicine health coach with over 2 decades of experience in helping people improve and preserve their health. Welcome, Kristy.
Hello. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Really great to have you. Thank you. So, Kristy, what is functional medicine? Just real quick, and then I'd love to get into your story a little bit.
Okay. Well, functional medicine, it's kind of like focusing on fixing the underlying causes of going on rather than just treating the symptoms. It's kind of a shift from what we've been doing with modern medicine lately. That whole disease-centered focus and everything to the more patient-centered approach. So it kind of looks at the whole person, how their body systems are working together, rather than just like treating isolated sets of symptoms. So, you know, and you're looking at everything. You're looking at, what they're eating and their lifestyle and all that other too. It's like person as a whole. It's kind of like coming full circle back to where we had the healers or whatever, like the traditional healers and stuff. And then we've got to somehow this, oh, you have a symptom, let's do this kind of thing, rather than look what's causing the whole problem. So.
Right. Yeah. So functional medicine is anti-Band-Aid. Is that good?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yes.
Awesome. Very cool. So what's your story? Did you have a health crisis? What brought you to this work?
Yeah, I started having health issues much, much earlier than I thought would ever happen. It was like late 20s, and I started having like serious knee pain. And it was just, I expected it because I've always been, really into sports, really like always doing that, you don't let yourself heal from injuries, and you kind of go back out there and then walking around on the concrete floor pharmacy all day. I kind of figured, I'd have some joint problems at some point. I'm thinking like 50s, 60s, whatever, but not in my 20s. So, but it was like end of the workday, my knees were just throbbing. I had to start going on anti-inflammatory medications. And of course, I knew those were only kind of a Band-Aid thing. And I spent, a couple of years at least, and a heck of a lot of money to find something that was to help improve the whole thing. And of course, nothing worked. And then also, in the meantime, we'd started a family too. And, you get all that extra pregnancy weight that never seems to want to go away. I'm sure most moms know all about that. And, and then you're like, every year it's like 2 or 3 pounds, comes on and doesn't leave. And pretty soon I'm like way overweight. So, right. So at that point, I was kind of like, holy God. I thought I was going to have to playing basketball, which is a huge, huge part of my life. So I've always played competitive basketball, and I was devastated that I was going to have to give that up. But there's no way I was going to do it with my knees, and the extra weight was slowing everything down. And so, yeah, and the other thing was in the pharmacy, I kind of knew where this was heading, right? I'd seen it enough times, and I felt kind of shocked, and I was ripped off because, I'd been doing all the right things and following all the advice, and so I started doing a whole bunch of research, because that's just, geeky scientist people like me do. And I learned a whole bunch of stuff that they do not teach you in pharmacy or medical school. And once I started applying that, it was literally a month or two that my knee pain was totally gone. No painkillers required, like nothing. And it was several months later, some more research, all the weight went away. That was years ago. It's been gone. And I had all these other bonus, effects with it that I really wasn't expecting. So which was awesome. Just don't get sick anymore. And because I thought I was pretty healthy to begin with. So that was shocking, and it's almost unheard of in the pharmacy to not get colds and all that other stuff, right? So, and I just, sleeping great, have tons of energy, and, here I thought I was healthy except for the knee issue, and turns out I wasn't. I feel just a heck of a lot better. And I realized, with some of my other clients in the pharmacy that, I kind of gave them some of these principles, and it turns out that the principles that help me are the same principles that help everybody, right? So that was kind of what started the whole thing. I'm like, people need to know about this. They're suffering when they really don't need to be. And that's kind of how this all got started.
Is there anything you'd like to say? I'll bring up the slides, and if there's anything you'd like to share, feel free.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think we can go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I called it that because I know that most people are having some health problems that are interfering with the life that they want, right? So, I mean, the next slide kind of exemplifies what a lot of people are dealing with. So if you want to just go to the next slide. Maybe your weight keeps creeping up. Despite your efforts, maybe you're always in pain, so common. Maybe you're just always exhausted. That's a really, really big issue now. Or, maybe you have a disease that's actually limiting you, like with your fibromyalgia. Or maybe you're just sick of taking a bunch of pills. And if you're like most people, you are some combination of any or all of those things. And really what's frustrating is you might be doing all the right things, but it's still not getting any better. And then even worse, the right things keep changing, and so now you don't even know what you're supposed to do anymore. Or you go to the doctor, I love this, he tells you there's nothing wrong, or that it's just a normal part of aging, right? So first thing I like to tell people is that there's nothing normal about feeling crappy. What is normal is to feel great, have excellent health right through old age, right up until you slide into the grave. So don't let anybody blame your health problems on getting older, because that's just a crock, right? And, and I know that because, I told you my story that I was well on my way into that downhill spiral of normal aging. But like I said, I learned stuff, and I knew that I needed to get this information out here because the principles are the same ones that fix just about everything. That's the beauty of the functional medicine. So let's just get to the 5 principles here. The first thing is your diet, of course. I'm sure this is no surprise to anyone, but do you know what that diet's supposed to be? And this is where the myths come in, right? Because first it was no fat, then it was, no carb, then it's like gluten-free, dairy-free, paleo, and whatever the heck else they come up with, right? And for the most part, those kind of diets just don't really work. And they actually end up making things worse. And one of the problems with it is that they're just too extreme. I mean, it's not realistic to live in our society and actually eat that way indefinitely. You need to make permanent changes. I mean, it took a lifetime of the choices that you made, to get your body where it is now, and expecting to fix that all in a month or two is kind of crazy, really. And diets are usually based on unbalanced nutrition. Like I said, they're cutting out things like food, like fats or carbs or whatever. But hey, guess what? Your body needs those things. It was designed to use them. You need that stuff. Just kind of the amounts is what you need to go. So, a tip I like to give people right away that you can start using today, because a lot of people are still doing this. Stop eating that no fat, low fat stuff. All they do is take the fat out and they replace it with a bunch of sugar or chemicals or a bunch of other stuff that are much, much worse for you. You're much better off with the full fat version of whatever it is you're having. Processed food in itself isn't the fabulous thing, but that's a whole nother story we won't get into. But really, I would say the most important reason that diets fail is because they don't take into account the way your body reacts to the foods that you eat. And if you go to the next slide, the typical diet, this is what happens with it. Oh, sorry, I wanted the one before that. The typical diet causes constant inflammation in your body. And inflammation really is the underlying cause of just about every disease that there is. It's the cause of type 2 diabetes, and literally the direct cause. It sucks the energy out of you. You know how like 2, 3 in the afternoon, you want to crawl under the desk and have a little siesta? That's why. It's because of the foods you're eating. And it also, our diet tells our body to store fat. And that's why I find it completely ridiculous that weight loss diets don't take this into account, because how are you going to have any kind of success? Because you end up having this hormone raging through your body telling it to store fat. So what ends up happening on those weight loss diets is you lose a lot of muscle, which, causes all kinds of issues. And that's why you end up gaining back all the weight when you're done plus more. So, because it just totally wrecks your metabolism. But really, our diet actually is the cause of cravings and makes us hungrier. So all those people that think they are emotional eaters or think they don't have enough willpower, it's just your normal response to what your body is going through because of the food that you're eating. And, people think that's odd. I actually had a client, he was a confessed craving junkie, and it was really, really bad. And when I told him that just changing the types of foods that he ate would eliminate his cravings, he thought I was totally crazy and looked at me like I had 5 heads. And I really think the only reason that he even tried it was because he wanted to prove me wrong. So sure enough, he started it. By the end of the 3rd day, his cravings were totally gone. And he was like a 5 Cokes a day, bread, pasta, all that kind of stuff, right? And really by the end of the week, he had more energy than he'd had in years. He was down 22 pounds at that point. And so he kept up with it, obviously, because he felt so great. And 3 months later, he was down more than 70 pounds, kept it off for years now. And he is able to stop his cholesterol and blood pressure medications. So that made just a huge difference for him. So yeah, so that's the first key, is the diet. The second principle is nutrition. And that's not what I was just talking about. When I talk about nutrition, I'm talking about having the proper amount of nutrients inside of your cells so that your body can function properly. Because when that happens, your body's able to heal and repair itself and does a much, much better job than any medication that we could throw at you. But what we've been told all our lives, of course, is eat a well-balanced diet and you're going to be good, right? So, everybody eating the perfect diet 24/7, right? I mean, nobody does, right? And the sad fact is that 97% of people don't even get the recommended daily amounts of nutrients. And 97%, that's a lot. But the worst part of that statistic is that the RDA levels are already hopelessly inadequate. They were actually developed by the US Army in World War II to see how little they could get away with feeding their soldiers. And so somehow that minimum amount became the recommended amount. I'm not sure why, but I mean, if you think about it, do you really want to just give your body the minimum amount it needs to survive? Well, not if you want excellent health, right? And here on this slide is just a few examples of the huge difference between the RDAs and the optimal amounts. I mean, you can see how big it is. And the reality of it, and I mean, they don't even have an RDA for the omega-3s, and those are essential fats. You have to get them from diet, which is crazy. I could talk for hours about that. But the reality is, and remember, 97% isn't getting the RDA level. So you can imagine how many people are getting the optimal amounts from their diet, right? And the fact is there's nobody, because it's actually physically impossible to get the optimal amounts just from your food. And a whole bunch of reasons for that I'm not going to go into. Maybe 100 or so years ago that was possible, but they've actually done the research, and you would need to eat 22,000 calories a day to get those optimal amounts of nutrients. And so obviously that's not going to happen. Obesity might be a bit of an issue, plus it costs a fortune. And so really the only way that you're going to get these optimal levels is from high quality supplements. And I do stress the word high quality, because what most people don't know also is that you can't just mosey into the store, pick up some supplements, because if you do that, you're going to be woefully disappointed. As a pharmacist, I need to tell you that the supplements that you're buying in the store, and doesn't matter what store, doesn't matter what brand of supplements, they're almost useless. And that's really unfortunate. There's lots of issues with them. Just a few of them is that, number one, they're based on RDA levels of nutrients. That's what you're getting from them. And we just talked about how ineffective those levels are in the first place. And of course, second, the quality of the manufacturing is so poor that more than 60% of the time, the tablet doesn't even dissolve when you take it. So if that basic step isn't happening, it really doesn't matter what's in it, because at that point you are literally flushing your money down the toilet. So
right. And the doctors used to say that, don't take the supplements because they're bedpan bullets, and
that's right.
They were right,
Mm-hmm.
because they had like a shellac on them, and I've literally seen X-rays where 3
Yes.
days of supplements are still sitting there in
the colon.
What is that? So the doctors were right when they said that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get a whole lot of nutrition training. It's so limited. It can be even like 45 minutes or something in all their doctor training. It's pretty crazy out there.
Yeah.
So good point.
Well, I know in the pharmacy we get really nothing. That we're told, oh yeah, if you eat well, you don't need supplements. That's what I was told. Of course, that was 20 years ago. Hopefully that's different, but I doubt it. But yet people have asked me since I started working, like, oh, what's the best vitamin? And I'm kind of, I don't know, take this one, right? I didn't know that, the #1 selling vitamin in North America is completely useless up until a few years ago. So anyway, but yeah, that the quality is just horrible. And then let's say it does dissolve, right? The quality of the ingredients is so poor for the most part, is that even if it gets into the body, it's not doing the job in the cells that you're really wanting it to do. So it's really not doing a whole lot for you. And unfortunately, like, I tell people that and they're all shocked, and they don't believe it for the most part, because they're like, well, there's got to be some kind of regulations to prevent that from happening. But unfortunately, it's just not the case. And so it took me a whole research to find some high quality supplements, because there's literally less than 5 companies doing it properly. So one of the things I do is help people get on a supplement regimen that actually makes a difference to their health, because even just doing that can make a huge difference. I had a client with myasthenia gravis, which is kind of like MS, but just more severe, right? And her life consisted of getting up, going downstairs, and all she could do was hang out on the couch all day so she'd have enough energy to cook supper for her family and then get back up the stairs again to go to bed. And if she did any more than that, she was totally exhausted and bedridden for days. So really, when we started working, obviously she couldn't exercise. Her diet was actually quite good. I just got her on an optimal supplement regimen, and literally within 2 weeks, she was running up and down the stairs. And just because she could, she's like, you got to come see this. And she's doing it. And so she was participating in her life again. She was back with her kids, and it was so dramatic. That was kind of my first, like, wow, I would never have believed that making such simple change would be so life-changing for people. So that was huge for me. So yeah, so that's the diet, nutrition. The third principle is exercise. And I know everybody's always hoping not, but unfortunately it is true. And really, first of all, you need to exercise to increase your muscle mass, because about age 30 or so, you naturally start losing muscle mass, and then your metabolism starts going down, and then that's kind of why the weight starts going up, even though you haven't been doing anything differently. And of course, if you've ever been on one of those weight loss diets, which lots of women are and have been on several, you probably lost a lot of muscle, like I said, so you really need to build that back up again. But really the most important benefit of exercise, as far as I'm concerned, is the metabolic changes that happen because of it. The amount of calories that you burn, totally insignificant. Well, not totally, but mostly insignificant. Exercise stimulates all kinds of hormones that are responsible for keeping you in good health, keeping you at a healthy weight, and different types of exercise stimulate different hormones. So you kind of want to do the right ones at the right times to get the results that you're looking for. But this is another myth that I want to bust here. This is what you really don't want to do, is that long, slow cardio exercise. Because not only are you wasting your time, but you're actually making your health worse, which is, most people are used to getting on the treadmill or elliptical, and it's like, oh, we'll go for an hour and a half. It was great. really your workout should be like 20, 30 minutes maximum. So most people love that when I tell them they have to exercise less. But longer than that really just tells your body to conserve energy, right? And if it kind of makes sense if you think about it. But, that's kind of the opposite of what most people are exercising for. You're really wanting your body to burn off excess fat, but we were never really meant to go hard for that long. And it also, you're creating a huge amount of free radicals and stress hormones and everything that damage your health. So actually going harder for less time, much, much better. And so there's people exercising all over the place, but if you're not doing it right, you're not really getting the health benefits. And that really made all the difference for me too. Like I said, I played basketball twice a week. And I thought that was enough. That was more exercise than most people get. But when I added, a couple of 20-minute strength workouts a week, all those last, stubborn pounds just came right off in a few weeks. I'm just way stronger. I feel way better right now. It was, I thought I was in good shape, but I really wasn't. So those are kind of the three most important points: the diet, the nutrition, the exercise. And they're equally important. Like, you can't ignore any of them. People like to try and, skip the exercise part, or skip the supplement part. But if you don't have all three of those, you're really not going to have the health that you want. But you can be doing all of those things and still not be healthy if you don't have the last two things under control. And I've seen it, and I see it a lot lately, especially in the middle age onward crowds. So, and I'm not going to go into them a whole lot, but just to let you know what they are, the fourth one is stress management and restful sleep. So yes, there are actually health consequences to too much stress and not getting enough sleep. And, sometimes we're not even aware of it. We are so used to the busy lifestyle that we've created for ourselves now that we don't even realize our body is viewing it as stress. And so I'm seeing lots and lots of that lately, which is too bad. And then the fifth principle is really having balanced hormones. That is such a huge problem now too. And, I'm not just talking like menopause, estrogen, testosterone stuff. There's a whole bunch of hormones that you need for excellent health. And when one's off, throws another one off, which throws another one off. And then it just becomes this big, messy cycle of nastiness, and it's complex. And so that becomes the difficulty of diagnosing and treating those last two principles, though, because that's what it requires, looking at all of your symptoms and how they relate. It's really the frustrating part I've seen for lots of my clients is that they go into their doctor, have all their symptoms, the doctor sends them for labs, and they all come back normal. So the doctor's like, yeah, you're fine. Meanwhile, it's like, no, I'm still feeling like crap. I'm not fine, right? So you really need someone to look at the whole picture, and that's really where the functional medicine comes in, because to dig down to that root of the problem. So that's it. If you get those five things right, you're going to be that 90-year-old that's still keeping up with the 20-year-olds, and people are going to say like, wow, she looks 10 years younger than she did, 20 years ago. So you'll be physically, mentally able to do whatever it is that you love to do right up until you die. So don't settle for that standard health, because, it sucks. I hear every day in the pharmacy, and I know you probably think I'm exaggerating, but literally every day, at least one customer makes some comment about how getting old sucks, or I thought these are supposed to be the golden years, or blah, 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 right? So really, it just takes a few simple changes so that you have that excellent health that allows you to have the life that you want. And the only thing stopping you is knowing which parts need changing, right? And then how to do that. Because everyone's situation is a little different. Without knowing how to interpret your symptoms, it's possible for you to just keep plugging along, trying different things and not getting the results that you want. And that was really why I started doing the health coaching, because I saw how much people were struggling to do the right things and just not getting the results. Because sometimes it's really not about the information. I mean, I just barely scratched the surface. I could talk for hours about each one of these things, but, really I could give you all of the information that I have. And sometimes you just need someone to tell you, what you need to do and when to do it. And really, once I started working one-on-one with people, the results were life-changing. And sadly to say, I've helped more people in the last few years doing this than I have in my entire 20 years as a pharmacist. So, that's crazy, but unfortunately the way our medical system is. So
Wow. Yeah. Isn't that something? And so I'm just so thankful for anyone who gets to hear this presentation, because she's a real gem. She's a pharmacist and she gets the functional medicine. And I don't know, and I knew a lot of very cutting edge and still do people because of what I used to do. And I'm a performance improvement coach with relationship marketing now. And I have not run into anybody who is the pharmacist and the functional medicine person. So thank you so much, Kristy, for what it is that you are out there doing. It is so important. And she's really done a great job of simplifying, boom, 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 and you can change a lot really quickly. And I know it's true because I've walked that road with myself as well as with my husband, my children, and other people's kids. So thank you so much. Okay, so and then you have a gift for us too, for our listeners. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't like giving people just a bit of information and then leaving you hanging because that just doesn't help anybody. So what I would suggest is if any of this resonates with you or someone you know, go to my website, the antioxidantsmakeyouhealthy.com. There you can download the free audio of the presentation that I just made, actually. So I know I covered a lot of stuff. That gives you a chance to listen to it as many times as you need to. And just to let you know, there is a gift for everyone who downloads that audio and listens to it. And it's really valuable because it'll help you personalize all of this information to your own situation so that you're not just guessing at what you need to do. So, because like I said, sometimes this is better to have somebody tell you what you need to do and when you need to do it. So that's a huge bonus of downloading that audio there. Because personalization is just really the most important part of functional medicine. So go ahead and share this link with your friends and whoever you know needs it, because so they can get the information and the personalized information, right? Because it's really important to let people know that there is a better way. People are just thinking modern medicine is the way to go, and it really gives them some hope and some excellent results. Like we've both seen that. And besides the audio, you'll also receive my newsletter and it has lots of usable health tips that you can actually do in real life. Hey. And so you can trust that I have researched the information for being accurate, no more of that conflicting health information so that you don't know what to believe. And you also don't need to worry about being suddenly bombarded with emails because that drives me crazy. I don't have time to write that many and you don't have time to read them. So, once every week or two is all you got. So I would just go to the website and download that so you can get that bonus gift to personalize it to yourself. And then you get the newsletter to keep you up on the health news that you really need to know. More of the myth busting.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is you are the gift. And so thank you so much, Kristy, for what it is that you're doing for everybody out there. And I'm going to close down the slides and bring us back. And it's really incredible. When women went into the work field, and just so much got lost in families cooking together, understanding nutrition. I have company from Germany, and she knows all about herbs. Just because she's an average European, and we don't.
Yeah,
just amazing.
That's right.
Right, and it's just interesting to me. And I love the way that you're talking about it is important to do food, but it's also important to supplement. And so Kristy knows more of the continuum of there's food, there's you might not know about homeopathic so much, but you would know who to refer to. There's supplements, there's herbs, and then there's man-made medicines, and that's the arc of safety. I kind of do it off my hand like a little arc. So very cool. Yeah, she's got it. Especially if you're dealing with any kind of medications, it's really important to be, with someone in the know to know how those all cross over with each other as well.
Right.
especially the
Yeah, I mean, my
children.
goal and most people's goal is to sort of fix everything so the medication gets to go away, right? Like, obviously,
Absolutely.
as a pharmacist, obviously, I believe there is a place for medication. My personal opinion is that it's more of an acute care thing. It's not, we have no business giving people, things to lower their cholesterol and things to lower their blood pressure. Like,
Right.
let's stop it from getting high in the first place, right?
Right. Well,
So,
my husband just had open heart surgery for a birth defect in his valve that had caused actually an aneurysm. And I went, they sent me down to the pharmacy because they were busy. Can you go down to the pharmacy and just pick up his drugs? I'm like, uh-oh, And I came up with two bags of drugs. And it's like,
oh my gosh.
yeah, no. So I do muscle testing. So he's still on basically one. But yeah, I wouldn't give him the stool softener, the constipation pills, none of that. I just muscle tested, gave him what he needed. That's what I did before to get him off of the meds, and he was being observed by his doctors and tested regularly, and he lost that 70 pounds in 2 months' time, and they were perfectly happy, a little worried that it was so fast, and they didn't understand how it could be that healthy and be that fast. So their eyes are opening now. So it's exciting, and I'm hearing a lot in the pharmacy industry too that they're actually pulling supplements into pharmacies now. My friend's husband is a pharmacist, is starting to get to know that side of things to help people avoid, crossing into the medical if they don't need to.
Yeah,
into
exactly.
drugs, right? So very cool. Thank you again. It was so wonderful to be with you. Thank you, Kristy.
Thank you.